Sorry, I was frozen. Didn't realize it. Okay. When they ask you for all the measures of central tendency or which one's the better like representation of the data, they mean like mean, median, or mode. Outlier and range is usually talked about with central tendency, but it's usually the OGs or the mean, median, mode. Okay, so the mean is just the average. Okay, so what you do is you just add up. So like those data points, you just add them all up. And then you divide by how many there are. Usually they use the variable n, but for number of data points, but there's 5 of them. So you just add them up, divide by 5. And then you get an answer. So if you added them, guys, stop talking when I'm talking, please. Okay. So if you add them all up, I got 15. So 15 divided by 5 is 3. Okay. So you guys know how to add stuff. I'm not really concerned about that. Median is probably the most annoying one because you have to put them in order. That's annoying. Okay. So you have to go least to greatest. These are already in order, so that's fine. But it's just the middle data point. So if there's an odd number, it's legit the middle, like what that actual value is. I'll do an example if it's like an even number of terms. Because if there's an even number, so say it landed between 2 and 3, you would average them. So I'll do an example like that. It says it in there, but this one is a legit data point, so you just write 2. Mode is the one that happens the most. So you just look at which one's happens the most, and it's 1, okay? An outlier is we'll talk about this more about box and whiskers, but it's like where it's much greater or much less than the rest of the numbers. So like 8 is like way more than the other numbers. So that's the outlier. And then range would be like usually you talk about range like range in temperature. So like Arizona has a big range in temperature. It gets really cold at night. So like it goes down to 40 and then gets up to 100. So it'd be a 60-degree temperature change. That's the range. It's just like taking the difference between the biggest and the smallest. So like biggest is 8, smallest is 1. So you just subtract them. So it's not too bad. 8 minus 1. You're like, what is that? And you're like, 7. Okay. That's all you do. Okay. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to use kind of this similar data here for these 3 different questions. And we're going to like alter it a little bit and see like what happens when you change the data. So this one, amusement park hires students for the summer. The students' hourly wages are given on the table. Find the mean, median, mode, and range. So it's just kind of like getting after it with your calculator, adding the stuff, all that business. So basically what you do, I usually write it in order first. You don't have to for the mean, but I usually write it in order first. So I'll do like do 387. This part's the most annoying in my opinion. So you're going to do least to greatest. So then it would be like 699. And then you would do 725, and another 725. Okay. And the ones that are repeated, don't like discredit those. Like actually write that out. 799, 825, 845, 875. Okay. Isn't that that might be an outlier, hey? Yeah, there you go. See what it didn't see there? Okay, cool. All right, so I write them in order. You don't need that for the mean, but the mean is the average. So mean means you add them all up. You guys know how to do that. You just go plus, okay, between them. You'll be fine. So you add them all up. I got 58.8 when I added them all up. And if you count how many there are, there's 8 of them. So that means you're going to take that number, divide by 8. So your mean is going to be 735. Now, I don't remember when I did this what that decimal was, but just in case, like say it was more decimals, okay? Just use, like, you remember sig figs from like forever ago. You're gonna do the same thing here. So like these are all dollar amounts, so round to the hundredths because it's money. Okay, So if you had more decimals, just round to the hundredth spot for this one because that's what you're talking about. Okay, so means, easy enough. Add them, divide by the number, okay? Median is what I said I think is the most annoying one. Is what you're going to do is you put them in order, which is what I already did, and you have to find the middle number. So, like, this is technically how I do it. I'll do like, okay, there's three, and I'll keep like going inward to try to figure out that middle one. And this one's an annoying one because it's not like a legit number because the number's in between these two. Okay, so like maybe like somehow write a note to yourself like it's like not an actual value, like it's in between, which is like angry face. Okay, so like if it's in between, like remember this other one? It was like super nice. It was like an actual value, but because there's even number, what you do with those is you average them. So you're going to take the 725 and the 799 and divide by 2. So if you have in between like that, that's all you do. Okay, so it's like this one's a little extra work because it's not just like a straight up number. So if you add those, divide by 2, you guys know how to do that. That's 762. Okay, so you get that number. The mode is my favorite one because it's like the easiest. Mode is the one where you just figure out like which one happens the most. So the one that happens the most was the 725. So that's like the best kind. Okay. And then last but not least, the range. That's just saying like what's the range in hourly wages. So you're just going like what's the biggest hourly wage, geez, I can't talk, minus the smallest. So for that one, for the range, you're just subtracting. So you're going to do the 875, which is the biggest, minus the 387, and then I forgot what I got. Is it 488? So that'd be the range. So that's all you do for those. So it just takes forever. It's fine, but it just takes forever. Okay, so for this one I'm going to have you guys do is we're going to identify the outlier. So the outlier, as you kind of already noticed, like 387, like, are you kidding me, right? For a cost. Like 875 is like still pretty close to 845, but 387 to 699 is like a big change. So the outlier on this one would be the 387, right? So this is the 387. I don't know what's going on right now. That's the outlier. Okay. So what you're going to do is we're going to figure out how does the outlier affect the mean, median, and mode. So what you're going to do is you're going to find the mean, median, mode, but pretend that one's not there. Okay. So find the mean with all of these. So you're not going to divide by 8 anymore. You only have 7 now. Okay. So just practice it to make sure you get the same answer as I do. So you're going to find the mean. Okay, so you're going to find the mean with the new numbers without the 387. Then you're going to find the median. I would just kind of cheat and look at the ones I already have written, and then the mode and see if it changes at all or how much it changes by. So ready, go. Just make sure you're getting the right answer so you know you're doing it right. This is... It's just stopped working now. So you just find the mean without that. So you add them all up, divide by 7. Actually, you gotta write notes. do 785. Yep. I got that for mode and median, but did you do the average yet?
Mm-mm.
So you're gonna do the average. Did you get it? Did you get it? I got 785. I got 785. Just so you know. I don't know how. Can you have that out of your ear, please? Can you have that out of your ear, please? I got a bigger number than that.
Go for the outlier?
For the mean. Because did you find it without that?
The outlier?
Yeah. Because to find the mean, you would add all these without that one. Divide by 7. Do you divide by 8?
I just didn't divide. I just found the outlier just by looking at it.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm talking about the mean is wrong, is what I'm saying.
I just looked at it.
That's the different problem. Yeah, that's what I got. So, I got mode was the same though. Because it's still the same double, you know what I mean? Like the, yeah.
Very back corner.
Nice. Okay. All right, so I didn't get to everybody, but what you want to notice here is like this outlier. If I take it out, my mean was 785. So check that you got that. Then you just want to make sure you're careful with your adding, guys. Shh. Okay. But if you notice that compared to your original mean, you're 50 cents off. Okay, 50 cents off if I took out the outlier. The median, it's essentially I just went over 1, right? Because that if I take that one out, I have 3 on this side, 3 on that side, so $7.99. That's 37 cents off. And then the mode was no change. So what you want to notice is that the mode barely changes when you remove an outlier, right? That one's the least affected, but the mean is the most affected. Okay, so the mean is the most affected by outliers. So mean most affected by outliers. So if you saw that again on a test, for example, that would be what you would answer. If you took out an outlier, which measure of central tendency would be most affected, you would say the mean. The one least affected is the mode. Okay, so like when your teacher says like, oh, the average on this test was yada yada, the average is actually not the best data point you should use. You should be using the median. That's what I look at. Yeah.
Is this kind of what the test going to be? It's going to ask you these questions and it's going to like a follow up like that?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it'll say it like it'll give you a scenario like say the outlier was really big or something.
Yeah.
Which one's most affected, and then you would say mean. Okay. Yeah. So, all right. So now we're going to do that same data, but then now we're going to increase the hourly wage by 40 cents. So everybody got a raise. Okay, so everybody got a raise. Now we're going to figure out if the mean, median, and mode and range, I guess, is how much that would change. Okay, so for I've already done these, so I'm just going to show you, like, because you guys know how to add stuff, right? Okay, so like if I did the mean for this, so what I did is I added them all up and divided by 8. Okay, so when I added them all up, I already did this. I got 62. It was actually very satisfying. So I got 62 when I added them all up, and there's 8 data points. Okay, and if I divide that, I got 775. Okay, so if you look at 775, so again, the outlier is still back in now. If you look at the mean was 735, for the data that didn't have the raise, the mean here is 775. The change in it, 35 to 75, is 40 cents. So this just went up 40 cents, just like the raise did. So if all the data points increased by the same amount, your mean also increases by the same amount, which will save you some time if you have to do this stuff, you know? So like if everybody increased, mean doesn't really change besides how much it increased by, okay? The median, if you do the median, I did this already. I like wrote them all out and I got 802 because I had to do the averaging thing again. Okay, so if you look at 802 compared to 762, same thing. The median doesn't really change with the 40 cents other than the fact that it also goes up 40 cents. Okay. And then the mode, whoops. Okay, the mode. If you look at which one happened the most, the mode was 765. 765, that also went up 40 cents. Okay, so all of these measures of central tendency didn't really change besides the fact that they all went up 40 because that was your increase. The range though, if you do the range, you do the biggest one, what is it, 915 minus the smallest one, 427. I think that was exactly the same. That'd be 488. That one was no change. Because if you think about it, if you increase both of them and subtract, you're going to get the same answer. So really the stuff that changes data is like an outlier. If you increase wages all the same, that doesn't really change your mean, median, mode as much. Okay. So what is this used for? Really, really intense math people are called actuarial scientists. They predict like insurance rates and how much to charge for premiums. They use this kind of data a little bit more hardcore to figure out what to charge. So it's a type of career for that. We're going to skip the polar bears one. How about you guys just think of 5? It's not like I need calculating. It's just thinking about A and B. So ready, go, think about 5, and then we'll finish with the frequency table, and then we'll be done. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not the frequency table question though. So you're just calculating the mean for the frequency only?
No, just wait. So just think of A, like what's the outlier? It's going to be, you can do it. I know you can. Okay. And which one's most affected? Okay. Okay, so what's 5A? What's the outlier? What's the outlier? Yes, so. Outlier is like that.
Just for anything.
It's like me meeting your mom.
What'd your mom say? What?
I guess you could say 105. That's okay. Okay, so E or 105. I guess you could say 105 too.
How was she making you do that?
Okay, so that's the outliers, right? Now for the central tendency, after we remove an outlier, 100% of the time, it is the mean. 100% of the time, it is the mean. Okay, so the measure of central tendency, that's code for mean, median, mode. Okay. All right, frequency tables. This is when these are used for when you're dealing with a ton of data, and you don't want to write it out in this huge long list. Okay. So people who live near an interstate highway have complained about traffic noise. A measuring instrument is placed along the highway at every 15 minutes. It measures the noise level in decibels. Okay. Our frequency distribution is made of the readings for the first day. Determine the relative frequency of each of these readings. Okay. So this is like, instead of writing like 50 and 50 twice, then 55, 55 twice, then 60, 60, 60, 60, 60 4 times. Like this number represents how many times it fell within this decibel range. So instead of writing, do you know what I'm saying? Like writing like 100 numbers in a row, this is just a little more consolidated data set you could look at. So to figure out the relative frequency, you need to figure out how many readings was taken. Okay, so the first thing you do is you figure out like the total like readings or like the total frequency, however you want to think about it. But essentially, long story short, you're going to take you're going to take 2 plus 2 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8. Like you're going to add all those up. So it's like you're going to go 2 plus 2 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 6 plus yada. Okay. So you're going to add all those up. Okay. I forgot what it was, 96. So you guys know how to add. So I'm just saying it's 96. Okay. So then to figure out the percent, what you're going to do is you're going to take the frequency under this decibel amount. So you're going to take the 2 and you're going to divide it by the total, 96. And then you're going to times it by 100 to get a percent. Or just turn it into a percent, put it in a decimal or whatever you want. Okay. So once you do that, you would get 2.1%. Okay. Then, I mean, this one, you don't have to write that out. It's the same thing. Okay, 2.1%. Now for 4, you're just going to do 4 over 96. That's all you do. So it just takes a while and kind of annoying, but that's all you do. Okay. But once you're, I mean, at least it's easier-ish, hopefully. 4.2%, 4.2%, 4.2%. I'm going to do all the 4s. Do you know what I'm saying? So you're just going and taking all of these. So now I'm going to take 6 and put it over 96 and get your answers. Okay, so I'm going to go 6 over 96 and get a decimal. Okay, so I got 6.3. Round to the 10th of a percent usually. These are usually small numbers, especially when you're dealing with a lot of data. So... did I have any more 6s? No, I didn't. Dang it. 8 over 96. So, yeah, it's just annoying. If I'm being honest. I'd rather do other things, but that's okay. Doesn't matter. 8.3. And then you're going to do 10 over 96. So, that's all you're doing. 10 over 96, 12 over 96, 14 over 96, and then 10 I'll already figure out. It'd be nice if it was out of 100. Wouldn't that just be nice? Like, cut us a break, you know, but 10.4, 14.6. And again, just typing. Oh, wait, I wrote that wrong. That's 12.5. Whoops, I wrote the wrong one. This is 14.6. And then 10 was 10.4. So that's a frequency table. Just less to do. Okay, so that's it. Not every question on the homework is like find mean, median, mode. Some are like remove the outlier, what changes, you know what I mean? So you should finish it in class, hopefully.